Labor is what creates wealth. Capital does not create wealth. Capital is just dead labor. And so labor is entitled to what it creates.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
When I come back from break, one of the things that I like to say is that labor creates all wealth, and there was a hearing last week in the Connecticut state government about a bill that would allow striking workers to receive unemployment benefits, and a person that I am acquainted with. I think I would call her a friend of the show, but I don't know. I think she's been on the show before. I think she has. Vale, a UAW staffer in the Northeast, spoke at this hearing, and the question was about, I think ostensibly, why should workers who go on strike receive unemployment benefits, presumably because, they decide to go on strike or whatever, and also because in Connecticut, the tax comes from the profits of corporations. And so the question was presumably put something like, well, the corporations are the ones paying the tax, so why should the workers benefit from it? And Vale had an excellent response where she laid it out quite clearly, and the politician was very confused, but not because of Vale. Let's listen to her testimony at the in front of the Connecticut government.
To utilize the unemployment benefits that you've paid into. Can you clarify, is that what you meant to say? Did I hear that right or incorrectly? For you,
Well, I believe that the labor that we do as union members generates the profits that go into the unemployment benefit system.
Okay, so you're stating that the labor that you provide that goes into the profits that then become taxed at the corporation level. Okay, I'll try to process that, but thank you. I just want to be clear that the corporation or business or organization is the entity that ultimately pays the tax, and that's how that unemployment compensation fund is.
Yes, I understand, and I believe that the wealth generated for these corporations is generated by our labor.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why that's so interesting. It seems kind of clear to me.
Yes, it's very freaking clear. It's obvious what she's saying. And if you have a question about it, or if you don't agree, then put forward the argument that disputes that assertion. And here's a little thought experiment for you about how you can arrive at the fact that labor creates wealth. This is actually just a science experiment. You can go and do this like in the wild, okay? Take like just a big stack of money. Just take a big stack of money and go and bury it, okay? And then come back and see how much more money or capital or wealth has been created by the wealth and capital that you sat in the wild, okay? So you can go and do this over any amount of time that you want. And you can call into the show at 844-899-TVLR and let us know how much money and capital and wealth is created by this pile of money that you put in the woods. And I would be interested if it is anything other than $0. Okay? But here's the second part of this experiment. You can go to, you can go and put a person in the wild, put them in the woods, and see if they create anything of value. Maybe are they able to create some sort of dwelling? Are they able to do something to make their lives a little bit better? The answer to that question is obviously yes. So there you go. Labor is what creates wealth. Capital does not create wealth. Capital is just dead labor. Labor creates wealth. Capital does not create wealth. It's very, very simple. And so labor is entitled to what it creates. Very simple. So really cool testimony there from UAW staffer Vale in Connecticut. And maybe everybody will be able to see the light from that very simple testimony.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Had a lot of conversation in the chat specifically about the comments that we made about, and the comments that we made about labor creates all wealth, and the clip that we played, and some, very confusing, frankly, conversation, and like things, responding to things that were not said. And so, one of the things that I thought was pretty funny was that Mark in the chat said, no one would simply bury large sums of money. There's a reason no one would bury large sums of money. That's because capital does not create wealth. Okay, it's because labor creates wealth. So you don't bury money to create money. You work to create money, or you enlist the work of others to create money. He said they can simply invest it in the S&P. Now that's a good point. That is what most people would do. And so I said, what is it that creates the profit for the companies that are within the S&P? And Mark responded that actually it's what creates profits? Maybe innovation. NVIDIA has one of the highest market caps in the world because those chip engineers designed advanced AI chips. And I said, oh, well, that's a very interesting part of the conversation there. What else do we call it, Adam, when engineers design things?
Could that be work?
Oh!
Could that be their job? Could that be their labor?
Well, that's labor. That's labor, actually. So the reason that NVIDIA has one of the highest market caps in the world and has had a growing market cap is because of the labor of NVIDIA's workers. That's true, Mark. That's very good. You're learning. I'm glad we're on a journey together. We're on a journey together, and I'm enjoying it. And this is a very common kind of like misunderstanding about what work is, because Mark later in the chat said, you all think that everybody works on an assembly line. And that would be a very strange thing for us to believe, because nobody within the Valley Labor Report actually works on an assembly line. So it would be strange if all of us, who none of us work on an assembly line, thought that everybody worked on an assembly line. That would be a strange thing for us to think. We don't think that, but what some people think is that only assembly line work is labor, and that is just not true. That is just not true. When engineers engineer things, when engineers design things, that is work, that is labor, and that is what creates wealth. Engineers' labor, letter carriers' labor, project managers' labor, even administrators, their administration is labor. Even business owners labor sometimes, right? Sometimes they labor, but the difference between labor as a class and business owners as a class is that labor gets its income, laborers get our income from the labor that we do, right? Whereas business owners as a class, in addition to, of course, a lot of them make wages, but they make their primary living off of the profits from the company, which is kind of the conglomeration of the wealth that is created from the labor of all of the workers, right? And so that's kind of the difference there. That is the difference between capital and labor, is that capital gets its money from the labor of others. Labor gets our money from the work that we do, right? And then here's another question. How many people on the planet can design those chips? It's supply and demand. That's how one's salary is determined. Saying labor creates no wealth is not a contradiction of the fact in and of itself that some labor is more valuable in the marketplace than others. Like, of course, obviously, some labor is going to be in higher demand and in less supply, and so can bring in a higher dollar or generate more wealth. That's not it. Saying labor creates all wealth is no comment on the debate about how much people should make, right? And I think that actually, interestingly, sports is like an interesting kind of part of this conversation, because a lot of people in sports, professional sports, or, you know, some people in professional sports make a lot of money, but they are not capitalists. They are as a part of the working class, because the labor that they create is, or the labor that the wealth that they get is generated by the labor that they do, right? And so, like, saying labor creates all wealth is not a statement about how much people should make, or the market, or anything like that. It's just saying the capital does not generate wealth.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.